Hello, welcome to Skye Sweaty Record Review, the only new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after getting off an elliptical. So this week, I believe our 18th episode, third episode of the week, I'm going to be talking about a band I've wanted to listen to for a long time. The band is called Django Django. It's not because I like the Jamie Foxx movie. It's not even because I love Django Reinhardt, the guitar player. It's because I named my son after Django Reinhardt. So I've always kind of thought, Django Django, I wonder if they're any good. I don't know why, I've never listened to them, but hey, that's what the show is going to provide me. So I thought a while ago with Hippocampus, I kind of went through the entire album and went through my experiences with it and how I felt about it. So I thought I would do that with this. So it's called Winter Beach, or Winter's Beach, I forget which is already kind of a interesting title, like, oh, the beach is interesting at the winter, but it also threatens something a little bit bland. I don't know. It opens up with the title track, Winter's Beach, has these kind of nice jittery keyboards, like they feel really like ngee, and then there's some really nice soothing keyboards that come in after it, and so it was an instrumental opening, like actually most of the things I've been listening to lately, which I liked. I thought it was a good opening, and then we get to track 2. Sand Dunes. And this is where the problem really comes in for me with this band, Django Django. I think the song is literally just about sand dunes. Like I don't think there's metaphor. I don't think it's about his life. I think he just was like looking at sand dunes and sung about it, which isn't a problem in and of itself, but just the voice is just really not engaging. It's really kind of wussy. It's interesting because at the end of the song, there's this interesting part, this nice mixture, throughout the whole album, there's a nice mixture of keyboard and sequenced synthesizers mixed in with acoustic instruments like most rock and roll appears to be now. And they kind of have a little jam section there, and I don't know, I think that's only really made possible by the technology these days. And that's why we find it so much. But anyways, this is playing, and I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. And then the chorus comes back again about sand dunes. I'm not that into it. The next song, Swimming at Night, is a little bit more upbeat. But at this point, I wrote down in my notes here, I do a page notes, I type them on my notes section in my iPhone. I said, does the singer even have a diaphragm? I mean, it feels like everything he sings, like, I'm saying, it's all from up here and above. So it wasn't too promising. Another song, Flash Forward, was a little bit more upbeat, but at this point, I sort of have that feeling of like, why do I really care? It's a little more interesting because there's kind of a house music feel to it. It's a little more synthesizer, a little more dancey. So at this whole point, I'm not at all ever thinking this is garbage, but I'm never also thinking, wow, I really want to listen to this. The second to last track, I would say, is the best track. So if you're going to listen to one track off the album, I would listen to Ghost Rider. That's spelled Ghost Rider. See what I did there? Okay. It's maybe the most interesting song on this album. It's a more acoustic sound, a little more layered vocals. It's got kind of a jaunty, swinging drums. Has kind of a catchy ending, saying "You are my Ghost Rider" over and over again. I don't believe it's in reference to the comic book or the underrated Nicolas Cage movie. Sort of by the end of it, I wrote down, maybe being a little bit too cute, but I sort of called it Donkey Kong Country, the musical, because I realized the music sounded a lot like Donkey Kong Country, but that's some of the best video game music ever made. And then by the end of the record, I realized that I was maybe looking at it the wrong way. I don't know. I mean, I'll show you the cover. That's not that promising of this. So, I printed this out here. So you can kind of see the idea. It's got the kind of music notes, and it's got those sand dunes in there again. And it's kind of a minimal cover with some interesting bits. And I would say that's the whole album. It's kind of a minimal album with some interesting bits. And by the end of the record, I was actually pretty cool with it. I was pretty cool with the style. Instead of seeing it purely as breathy blandness, I found it to be sort of pleasant. And I've decided ahead of time that's going to be my 3-word review of Django Django. Sort of pleasant. So, that's a disappointing review. But it also, I could imagine being in the mood to listen to them and then listening to them. I am going to do one bonus though. Okay, so as I was starting out this week, I was on the elliptical and I was getting going, and I started listening to this band, and then I said, oh no, I can only do 3 a week, so I better do Django Django, because I told my son I would. Not that he watches the show, but But the band I listened to for one song before Django Django, and then I listened to most of the rest of the record, because Django Django is really short, is a, as far as I know, unknown band called the Mountain Movers. And Django Django is from London, which, I don't know, that doesn't really matter. But Mountain Movers are from New Haven, Connecticut. And my mom lived there for a while. I got a friend, Michael, who lives there. So that's kind of interesting. I can't think of that much art that comes out of New Haven. Although some great art historians, like my grandfather. But this album, Mountain Movers, I don't know. It's basically like every track sounds like a band trying to sound like a Neil Young jam. Just like a nice, kind of crunchy instrumental. I mean, the drummer is better than Neil Young's drummer, Ralph Molina. He does a lot of interesting fills. It feels like a band that jams a lot and is together, but it doesn't have that annoying feeling of a lot of jam bands where they're trying to prove something. Like, they actually set a groove and they stick with it. The first track is kind of long and rambling. Eventually they start singing, and they sing a song, I think it's sort of like Iggy Pop, but like if Iggy Pop never went to that next level. So like just the kind of grumbly, talky Iggy Pop, never the sort of yelly, excited Iggy Pop. So that's a pretty good review for Mountain Movers and their album Pink Skies. And their cover, see, it's a lot more colorful. You see? I don't know. I sort of like that more. But again, it's not quite as well produced. It's not quite as tight as Django Django. I don't think you can even really compare them, except for the fact they both came out in the same week. If I had to give my Skye stamp of the week to a track that I put on my playlist for fall 2018, I would put it, My Eyes Are Always Heavy by the Mountain Movers. That's the perfect example of that kind of Iggy Pop-ish vocals with the Neil Young-ish style jamming. So those are my 2 records. I'm going to lead with Django Django because I said I would. But there's your bonus. Another thing I want to introduce is random thing that Skye sees on the TV of the day. So it was Dr. Oz, and it was a woman sitting very earnestly talking to Dr. Oz on the couch. And the chyron underneath, whatever, the little banner just read, "Killing my boyfriend saved my life." I don't know. I mean, that sounds like an interesting song or an interesting album. I don't know what. I wasn't listening, I don't know what they were saying. And then the answer to the trivia quiz is, of course, a grapefruit.